Hello everyone. This video will cover modules 8 and 9, which concludes the process essay. So in module 7, you completed your brainstorm and writing plan after reading through the process essay assignment. So your brainstorm and writing plan helped you to decide on a topic and then plan out an essay that you will write over that topic. Now your plan, keep in mind, is just a rough version of what you might include. It's not finalized. So at this point, what we're going to do is start drafting your essay. So you want to look back at that writing plan and make sure that your topic is appropriate for the assignment, and make sure that I don't have any suggestions for how you ought to go about doing it or changes that you need to make. So in module 8, our goal is to just write a rough draft. The reading assignment here is actually about finishing your essay, and I have it in this module because I want you to review it as you're going through. We have looked at chapter 4 quite a few times, and that is the chapter on writing well that takes you through the writing process of just drafting something. So you already have read that chapter, you've been exposed to it several times, so you can go back to that if you need to. And same thing with the process writing chapter. If you need to go back there to see what a process essay looks like, you can. In this module, you'll look at the chapter 5 information, which is about finishing well. And so that you might start writing your paper and then go and look at this chapter to make sure that you're doing what you should be doing as far as revising is concerned. So this is the process essay assignment. Again, same one that we had in the last module. Keep in mind, we're working with that same assignment. We are not moving on to a different assignment. You're using the same topic. So you may have chosen a recipe, you may have chosen how to change the oil in your car, whatever process you chose, those steps, you're now going to write out in an essay. So you look back at your writing plan, see what kind of feedback that I gave you, and then you're going to do a rough draft of your essay. The idea with a rough draft is sometimes we're just kind of practicing writing. Depending on where you're at by the time you have to submit this, it may be really rough. Or it may be closer to being done. And it really depends a lot on the student and how they write. Some students just have to sit there and get it all out onto the page. And so they just write and write and write, and then they have to go through and do some really significant editing, proofreading, and revision to turn it into an actual essay. And some students are able to really get the form of an essay the first time. So it kind of depends on you as a writer. So you go back and make sure that you're using the same topic. And now you'll put together a draft that includes the 3 major elements, which is an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. You will not use the numbers in your paper. Some students think they're doing an outline. You're not doing an outline, you're writing a paper. This is just to indicate the 3 sections that I want to see. And these elements that you'll be practicing are the ones that are highlighted, and that's what you'll be graded on. So the idea with a rough draft in this class is you'll get your full 30 points, and I'm not grading it based on grammar and writing as long as you have those essay elements. So as long as you have all of the elements that are listed here, then you'll get your full 30 points. And the idea here is that you get your process written out, and I will go through and give you feedback just like I would for the final draft, and then you can take that specific feedback and make those changes, and then the final draft you should have a much better score than you would have because you were able to get that feedback from me ahead of time. So you'll submit this, and then you'll go and look at that feedback, and then you will complete the final draft. So that's in the next module, is actually submitting the final draft of the process essay. So you can see that the process essay is due in March 27th. We do have spring break, so you guys have actually an extra week probably to procrastinate on your assignments, because I know that's what students do over spring break. They don't actually do their work. But just keep in mind that it's not due, we've been having something due every single week. There is an extra week in this module. So resources I have in this module just to help you out. I have a guide for if you haven't figured out yet at this point how to view feedback from your instructor, and then a couple of videos on making revisions once you have been given feedback, once you have something to revise, and also of course self-editing. I also have a little page here on editing for second person. This is the number one mistake that students make on their process essay, is writing a set of instructions addressed to the reader using second person, as opposed to a process explanation, which uses either first person or third person. So when you're writing in second person, you're talking directly to the person reading the paper. You have to make sure that you have your ingredients handy. The first thing you add to the bowl is the flour, and so on and so forth. That is not how I want you to write the essay, and this is really important because a set of instructions reads like a cookbook, and that is not the point of the assignment. Instead, I want you to write a process explanation or a process analysis, where instead of just directing the reader as to what he or she should do, you talk about either what you do, which is most students choose first person for this, so they can talk about what they do, and it makes it personal, or what a person should do. So a baker or a mechanic or whoever is a nurse, whoever is completing the process. The reason we use first person or third person subject in the sentence is because we want to be able to analyze why it is it's being done that way. So I always add the flour first because I find it's easier to mix all of the dry ingredients together before adding the wet ingredients or something like that. Or the baker should do this because it will be easier for them to mix if the dry ingredients go in first and then the wet ingredients. It's however you want to put it together. However, since you have to have personal experience with this process to begin with, it should be one that you are familiar with. Most students like to use first person just because it just makes it, then they can talk about their own personal tips for completing the process. So those are just information pages for you. The essay assignment's in here again. You'll see this several times. And then this is where you submit the final draft of your essay. So you'll go back to the rough draft, you'll make changes, then you'll submit the final draft. The important thing to note is that if you submit the exact same draft to the rough draft assignment and the final draft assignment, I will only give you half credit. The reason we are doing the rough draft assignment is so that you can make improvements on your essay before you turn in the final draft, which means that hopefully I will have fewer comments for you on your final draft. I'll have fewer things to point out for you. And so make sure that you are making changes. They should be different, probably drastically different between the two. And so if you're not doing that, then you're not doing a key component of the class and you won't get those points for it. So that has been Module 8 and 9, and so we are finishing up the process essay, which is the first essay in the class. And after this point, we'll be moving on to the second essay. So be expecting that in the next module, we will do the same order of pre-writing, drafting, rewriting, final draft, that kind of thing. It's just a little bit longer for the next essay. So at this point, you should really be paying attention to making sure that you've gotten everything submitted. Pay attention to your grade in the class. Is it the grade that you want for the class? Is the grade you're expecting for the class? What can you do differently in the second half of the semester to make sure that your grade either stays at the level you want it or improves? And make sure that you are contacting me if you have any questions.